Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. What is the biggest threat that we face? The threat that, you know, is a threat to all of us, because some of the things that we talk about on occasion, they may not directly affect you in the future. But this is something that is a real threat to everyone. And in my personal opinion, next to the spiritual stuff that's going on, it is the biggest threat that we all face, that we all should prepare for, and quite possibly one of the things that we're prepared the least for, and that is other people. I think that people pose the biggest threat to us, that as this world starts to fall apart, it will be people, just your everyday average person, that will be the biggest danger in your life, that will have the greatest opportunity to harm you. And I think that the average prepared-minded homesteader, self-sufficient, whatever, is probably the least prepared to deal with this. Not just physically prepared, but mentally prepared. You know, we've all grown up, at least most of you, in a world, in a country where things have been pretty civil and safe, secure. We know that the odds are actually in our favor of having something done bad to us, you know. There's always a chance, and it certainly happens to people. But the vast majority of people can live their life and never really have anything too bad done to them by someone else. Well, I'm telling you folks, I have a very strong feeling that that world that we once lived in doesn't exist anymore. We have seen over the past 2 years at least this increase in violence. Increase in crime. We've seen people just like they're losing their minds. They're doing things that we don't understand. You know, it's one thing, not that it's right, but we understand why someone would go in and rob a jewelry store. You know, they want the money. It's wrong, but we get that. We don't understand why someone just, you know, a group of people or even a child walks up to some elderly person and just beats them up or stabs them, you know, for just no reason. They don't even steal anything from them. They just do it for no reason. Most of us just don't understand what that is. What that is, folks, it's people, they've been pushed to the point and they've grown up in a world, they've been indoctrinated, all these different things, that civility and humanity just aren't in them anymore. They've lost that godly love for their brother. And we're seeing our world kind of fall apart in that way. And as all these things that we talk about every day amplify, we're gonna face, you know, violence. We're gonna face threat from our fellow man and woman way more. You know, I've talked on here before about how, you know, how much do you trust the people around you? Do you trust that when things get bad and they're getting hungry and they know you have food, do you trust that they're not going to come and try to take it from you by force? How much do you trust just the people on the streets around you? You know, how prepared are you to defend yourself on a daily basis? How prepared are you to defend your home? Do you have your preps in a secure place? And not just from them breaking in, but as we've seen around the world, they tend to really like fire. You know, do you have plans in place to keep your home or your storage or whatever it is where you may have all your stuff? Do you have a plan to keep it from burning to the ground? Because they certainly like fire. And what's your plan out on the streets? I mean, have you already started thinking about that? Maybe you've already put it into play. Maybe there's places you just don't go to. places that's off limits. You've chosen different areas to shop. Maybe you've, already made decisions to kind of stay home more. You save money. You always spend money whenever you leave. My grandpa always said that. Doesn't matter where you go and what you do. You leave the house, you're spending money. You have these talks with your kids. You and your spouse talk about it. Well, you should be, because we're in that day and age already. Okay, maybe not all of you. Some of you are probably like myself and my family, live in an area where you've so far been untouched by all of this increase in hatred and violence and just meanness. But it doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. People are nothing more than cattle when you get them together. Individually, people can be really smart. But when you put them all together and you throw a bunch of panic and fear and hunger, all these other problems at them, they become nothing more than cattle. And they'll stampede all over you the first chance they get. And this is something that you need to really be taking serious and preparing for. We've seen it happen recently in the last weeks all over the world, and it's been happening for at least a couple of years. It was last year that India was doing this. It's been happening 2 years ago. America with BLM riots. America's already very tense. It's like a pressure cooker. It's just about ready to blow. And you throw on top of it some of these Agenda 2030 regulations that got passed, increase in prices, decrease in availability of stuff. It's like putting a stick of dynamite underneath that pressure cooker. It's not going to go good. And so don't think that just because it's America and things are different here, we're not a bunch of animals in this country. I'd make an argument that maybe we're even more so than other countries. At least now we are. Have a plan for your person. You should be carrying all the time if you legally can. If you legally can't carry a firearm, move out of the place that you live to a place that you can legally carry a firearm. And if that doesn't work, figure out what's the most that you can legally carry and learn how to use it. Learn how to use it well. Work out a plan for your home. How are you securing it? You're using cameras, motion sensors, placing certain things, barriers, barricades, certain things on your property to make it easier to defend. How are you securing your home? Do you have evacuation plans inside your house in case someone, sets it on fire, rolls the covered wagon up to the door that's burning, like in the old westerns? Your preps, the things that you're going to live off of. If you've got them mostly in the one place, how secure are they? Are they secure so that when, just people come over to the house that they can't walk in and see, oh my goodness, this guy's got, $20,000 in food on the shelf? Or do you have it put away where, the average person that comes in your house can't see it and it's all secure and locked up? These and many more are things that you need to do. You should be thinking about where you're going and is that the safest place to go? Because as we have seen here in the United States, not even talking about stuff that's happening in these other countries where there's mass amounts of chaos, just here in the United States, we're seeing more and more of this violence in fairly decent, normal areas. You don't have to go to, the ghetto or whatever it is in East St. Louis. No offense to people from St. Louis, but everybody knows that there are parts of St. Louis that are quite bad, and I'm just using it as an example. But you don't have to go there anymore to experience this kind of violence. We're seeing it in, normal, decent cities. We're seeing it in suburban areas. We're seeing it in smaller to medium-sized cities. So you need to have a plan for that, because we're seeing this kind of behavior a whole lot more. You know, look at that video. Many of you have already seen it. From just a few days ago, that 80-year-old store clerk ended up shooting that guy that came into his store with what looked to be some kind of AR, some kind of assault rifle, assault weapon, or whatever they call them. You know, the fictional thing that all the liberals talk about. Anyways, store owner shot him. This is the kind of stuff that's happening. Don't be stupid and put yourself in a situation that you have no business being in, that you don't have to be there. You don't have to go there. In this world that we live in. You know, I know someone, and I know they're not going to be watching this channel, so just in the last few weeks this year, this summer, they went on vacation, and they decided to go to downtown Chicago on vacation. They'd never been there. They wanted to see all the buildings and go to the museums and all that kind of stuff. I can think of several million more places on this planet that I would rather go to vacation to for a week than downtown Chicago right now. I wouldn't have gone to downtown Chicago 10 years ago for a vacation. I've been there before. And it's not just because I don't like big cities. Think about what you're doing, folks. This is all part of us changing our mindset. We have to change how we think, because the world has already changed. We have to catch up and realize that we don't live in this, you know, nice, peaceful, safe Mayberry RFD 1950. We don't live there anymore. We live in a world that's literally losing its mind. And there are things coming down the pike. Things that were passed yesterday in Senate. And other things. That's just going to continue throwing gasoline on that big old bonfire. And you have to get ready. You have to start thinking about these things. Just because you have no security experience, maybe no military or law enforcement or anything like that, doesn't mean that you can't, and especially that you shouldn't, get ready. Even the grandma going to the grocery store, she should be aware of her surroundings. You get out of your car, is anyone watching you? Who's around you? How are you carrying your purse? When you're walking in, are you thinking about your shopping list and what you're going to cook for Sunday dinner? Or are you, walking around looking side to side? Are you trying to be aware of what's going on behind you? We have these natural senses built into us. Very similar to, things like a dog can sense. And because of this modern world that we live in, we stopped using them a long time ago. But they're still there. You can still use them. When you're in a store, do you notice strange behavior? And do you try to avoid it? Do you have a plan on getting out of a bad situation? Maybe your plan isn't to fight to get out of it, and if you can avoid it, I would. Don't be a Rambo. I don't care if you're, ex-Army Ranger. You see a bunch of people doing crazy stuff, shooting each other and beating each other up. Don't get involved in that. Remember your training. You may come out ahead, but odds are you're going to get injured. And you don't need that. You're not in the sandbox anymore. You're protecting your family. And so you want to try to avoid getting injured if at all possible. Get out of there. And do you have a plan? Have you talked about it with your family of how to evacuate? your local grocery store or whatever. How do they do it? Where do they go? Are they aware of where you parked? This is the kind of stuff you should be doing. You don't have to train constantly, nonstop, all the time. But you need to be talking to your family about this. You need to be talking to your wives, your husbands, your children, and coming up with plans, and occasionally, at least, run through some drills. If you think it's unnecessary, just get online and start looking at the things that's been happening in the past few weeks all over the world, and then start looking at what's going on here in America and how Americans have absolutely lost it. How much crime there is. I mean, it's gotten to the point that if you wanted to, you could get online and sit just about all day long watching videos and reading crime reports of what's going on in America that absolutely would make your jaw hit the floor. You'd never believe it. Not in this country. Not in the places that it's happening in this country. You need to get ready, folks, for this part of it. People are your biggest threat. Just regular people. You may or may not get a knock at your door someday from the three-letter alphabet group. But the odds are of you having a negative interaction with another human being throughout all this, that's pretty good odds. So work on this plan. Make it as bulletproof as possible. Train, practice with your family. Do some drills. I know it may seem silly, but boy, you'll thank me in the long run, because I think America has well past due on falling into chaos and losing its civility. Folks, get your houses in order and get this aspect of your life in order. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.